Okay, very good. I see we already have several hundred people who have joined today's call. Again, thank you very much for taking the time today. I am Michael Jansen, founder and CEO of the Cityzenith. Today is our annual end of year shareholder meeting for Cityzenith shareholders, as well as new investors in Cityzenith. We're extremely excited to be talking about the last 12 months, all of our achievements and what we have planned ahead. And I am joined today by two of our board members, Dr. Josh Siddiqui and Mr. Joe Dignan, who will be available later after my presentation for a Q&A session. So feel free to get your questions ready, because at the end of this presentation, you'll have a chance to speak with both myself as well as Dr. Siddiqui and Mr. Dignan. Let's get right into it, people. Thank you again very much for joining. It's been really an exciting year for us. We signed $4.6 million in new deals, and those of you, of course, know that we just launched the product right around COVID, so that was sort of a tremendous start to the opportunity. We have now over $11 million in the pipeline of opportunities that we've created, including opportunities with entire new cities, real estate companies, building owners, campuses, smart districts, infrastructure projects, etc., which I'll talk to a bit later. We had several major cities join our Clean Cities, Clean Future initiative, which many of you know about, and I'll talk about that in a bit. We did raise $5 million since July of 2020, so roughly in a year and a half or so, both from our Reg A Plus, which has been pretty much a success, as well as our Reg CF, and many of you are investors from both of those rounds. We did establish 12 new sales channel partnerships this year worldwide, including most significantly with Amazon, with whom we are collaborating to develop Smart World for their unique market approach. And after the Phoenix project, which is our pilot with Amazon, we've rolled out to 60 major international sales teams around the world to promote Smart World via Amazon. Very exciting opportunity. We also won 11 major industry awards this year, which is kind of staggering, almost embarrassing. So thank you so much to all of the institutions that honored us this year. Among them were the World Economic Forum, who named us a global innovator in June of 2021, working in their net zero carbon cities program, a huge honor for our company, only one of 100 companies ever chosen by them to be a global innovator. And we began many conversations with institutional investors in earnest for the first time. So I mentioned, of course, the success of the early launch of the Clean City, Clean Future Digital Twin Initiative. New York, Phoenix, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles are already under contract with us. That is, entities within those cities, typically the Green Building Authority, responsible for the domain of building and commissioning green buildings. And we're super happy about this. We have many to follow. We reason to believe that Pittsburgh, Dallas, Chicago, Rotterdam, Ithaca, St. Louis, Boston, Singapore, and so many others are actually all in tow to be next appointees to this wonderful program that we created. The product itself, Smart World, has come a long way. I'm going to show you a little bit of a clip of where we're at with that shortly. In the first snippet of the Las Vegas digital twin video, which you're going to see here for the first time, we can now handle all kinds of complex IoT data. We have a new totally high performance backend leveraging Kubernetes. It allows us to go on premise to work with both Azure and AWS as base cloud infrastructures. We've begun to develop our twin app ecosystem of applications that do unique things on top of Smart World from different providers, basically the analytics layer. And we've begun to develop the AI and the ML framework out more comprehensively as we deploy across these cities. So that has helped us to expand our technology network of partners from 3 to over 20. We'll be talking about some of the things that we're doing around the world. We have several new executive hires planned. I'll be talking about a partnership later on with a new company in the carbon offset business. We will be talking about some of our new projects. One of the newest big projects that we've been asked to take on is Amazon's new headquarters, which is outside of Washington, D.C. It's one of the largest and boldest projects of its kind, and they're looking for a digital twin solution to manage and decarbonize the whole of HQ2, as well as Formula One, a major project in the Middle East that we are now very close to securing. So, and finally, I'll be talking a bit about a new opportunity that we have with a potential strategic investor, which will be very exciting for everybody to learn about as we get further into this presentation. Let me move from the highlights to really speaking about the, for those of you who are a bit less familiar, kind of the business itself. A second here. I think we actually are missing a presentation in here. Steve, if you're watching, the part 2 presentation is in there, but not part 1. So if you could have a look, that'd be great. So let me just quick send a message here out to, I apologize for this. There are 2 presentations I'm going to show you real quick, and we think we've loaded the wrong one. I'm not sure that I can screen share. If I can screen share, that's going to be great. So we're going to improvise here, guys, for a second, because you need to see this. So 1 second. And Joe, if you could come on mic for a second, or Josh, I'd like to just make sure we're able to see, you're able to see my screen.
All we're seeing is the offering. What is Regulation A+?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep,
I'm going to switch over in a second now to the presentation that I want to share. All right. Can you now see my screen?
Yeah.
Can you still see my screen?
Yep.
All right, that worked. Okay, so I mentioned the Clean Cities, Clean Future initiative, which is really the thrust of a lot of what the company does. We do different types of work at Cityzenith. We do large-scale digital twin projects. We do partner with companies where we customize Smart World for their unique use, and then we go ahead and they sell it through to their project base. And then we have this program called Clean Cities, Clean Future, which is designed to see us actually implement digital twins of a certain scale in cities to allow us to work directly with commercial building owners to help them achieve net zero emissions. Urban digital twins are digital representations of the physical built environment in our cities. That's what we specialize in. Digital twins, as you know, are 3D virtual representations of real assets connected to the data in and around them. In the case of cities, they're connected to things like transport networks, buildings, and infrastructure, et cetera, and they're used to optimize everything from planning to construction to the ongoing maintenance of assets across a wide spectrum. They deliver a lot of value, digital twins. I'm going to play a video for you just a bit later that will kind of talk a bit to that. But the Ernst & Young recently published a report sharing that digital twins across buildings and infrastructure have demonstrated to reduce operating costs by 35%, to boost productivity by 20%, and to substantially help cut emissions by 50 to 100%. So I think it was Forbes that said 500 major world cities will rely on digital twins for daily operations by 2026. And that is creating an opportunity for cities to save $280 billion in planning and development costs. And that is to a certain extent these types of high performance metrics are pushing the adoption of digital. So the inconvenient truth is that there are many sort of contributors to the overall problem in buildings, but specifically buildings are the biggest contributor, contributing 50 to 70% of. They contribute 30 to 39% of all emissions globally, and 3/4 of the buildings, of the current existing buildings in the United States need to be retrofitted. But only 1.7% of our buildings are actually technically green, and less than 0.01% are net zero. And for us to get to the Paris climate goals in general, both city, state, and Paris SDG goals, that has to significantly change. So how do you actually get to net zero emissions? Well, it's a few things that building owners have to do. One is to deploy energy management technology that helps them to optimize the use of energy. Secondly, deploying on-site renewable strategies, which they may range from solar to geothermal to solar glass, etc., panels. And the third then would be to offset the remaining dependence using carbon offsets procured from good sources, and which eventually be retired. And of course, all that needs to be continuously monitored and recertified every year on an ongoing basis. There's a lot driving this right now. The decarbonization of commercial buildings is a big priority for the new Race to Zero budget. I think it's going to come in somewhere around 1.9 trillion, but it's driving a $200 billion green building retrofit market. Also, you could think that with that much attention that there'd be more green building users or builders or retrofitters out there, but the fact is that it's the cost. It's really, the energy cost in the US for an average commercial building is about $2.10 per foot per year. So when a retrofit costs $2 to $7 per foot, it's very expensive. That's maybe $600,000 per 100,000 feet, and that can vary depending upon the building's age, its location, its purpose, etc. Payback periods vary widely. They're typically 5, 7, 10 years or more, and typically real estate owners have a shorter window for paybacks on such investments, which would need to be typically 3 or 5 years or less to attract the attention of commercial property owners, and we just can't really get there with the systems that we're using today. So as a result, less than 1% of all annual operating profits and revenues are actually reinvested in LEED green building retrofits. And to achieve, as I mentioned, the Paris green building target goals, that's going to need to increase to something like 3 times in order to achieve those goals, and we're kind of far away from that. So what are the challenges out there? What's stopping this from happening? Well, there are a bunch of things. One of the biggest problems is the complexity of the process generally, multiple pieces, multiple stakeholders, multiple transactions, multiple actions, implementation, and something that happens over time. That's complicated, and there are little pieces of software that do parts of that very well. If you look at the screen on the right, you see what some of those softwares are. But none of software actually does all of those things or integrates these tools in a way to make that process simpler. So as a result, the green building retrofit consulting market today is extremely expensive. It's labor intensive. It's risky. It's full of small mom and pop companies that are working with a plethora of tools to individual standards. And those tools, I mean, not just maybe dozens, I actually mean thousands. And as a result, we have a relatively low adoption of green building retrofit budgets today. So we took this problem on by specifically developing software, our digital twin platform, to be the tool that unifies the different major elements of the decarbonization process from end to end, brings the critical tools in, allows users to ongoingly monitor and recertify performance, continually assess and reassess, etc., from a tool that's easy for everyone to use. And we think that digital twins really are the right answer here. They're the best at aggregating and simulating and managing complex data. this specific use of ours, because there are many digital twin platforms out there, is to predict energy consumption and financial outcomes at scale, driving down capital risk for owners. And one of the things that we're studying in these pilots is the ability of the digital twin to study and to suggest optimum engineering and financial outcomes based upon different strategies. In other words, you should use this energy management system, this solar system, this geothermal system, etc., for your property, and this will be the financial result. These are the incentives that you qualify for when you do this. If you do this much, you get this. If you do that much, you get that, etc. And this is your resultant carbon offset requirement, etc. Our platform is uniquely good at this. We've been developing it now for almost a decade with some of the world's top minds. Our first CTO was the creator of Google Earth himself. We've always had wonderful people. We've also had some of the founders of Revit, a major BIM company later acquired by Autodesk, that all came together. I myself, Michael Jansen, your friendly CEO, was an architect by training, undergrad at Yale. I'm a graduate from the University of Cambridge, both in the School of Architecture. I've been building companies around the world for 25 years. And one of my last companies actually was a BIM and CAD 3D modeling service provider that became the largest in the world. And Sequoia Capital very famously invested in that company, and I gave 17x back to my investors who invested in that company, which was a wonderful opportunity just in 3 years. So we went from 10 people in a basement. I can remember we rented the tables and the computers from a local school to 500 people working on half of the world's major projects in just 4 years. So I know the industry exceptionally well. I won a lot of awards for my work in that company, and I think when I saw the scale of the problem emerging, which was that the world was building bigger and bigger projects with no real platform to make them efficient or sustainable, and all the competing tools out there you saw earlier, I saw that as an opportunity to change things. So as I mentioned, we've worked for property owners, facility managers, infrastructure operators, energy firms, architects, engineers, and planners. We do work for some governments, not usually. We've done a range of jobs from airports to seaports, infrastructure projects, that includes rail, university campuses, real estate portfolios, utilities, districts, cities, master developments. And we've been developing this tool, I think, ahead of the market quite successfully to be the most advanced, flexible, and scalable of its kind. We're beginning to build out an actual twin app community. If you can imagine the iPhone and its apps, twin apps are basically like that. They're built by others to deliver specific value to users of Smart World. And we've begun to, as I mentioned, to work with major industry partners like the World Economic Forum, the Digital Twin Consortium, the 2030 Districts Group, and the Green Building, various green building chapters, or green building council chapters around the world. So as part of this pledge, we're now rolling out the implementation of all of these digital twins. We're about 4 in. We had a lot of media attention, fortunately, after the launch of this. Over 1,000 times we were mentioned in the media in the last year, as I mentioned, along with the awards that we won. So we knew that we're definitely striking the right chord. And I think one of the things that makes the offering so compelling is that the digital twin itself is provided complimentary, and we charge 10 cents per square foot to real estate owners to unlock $3 to $5 per square foot in savings over 3 to 5 years. And the market's huge. It's 100 billion square feet of just commercial office buildings in the US alone. So we have a 5-year goal to achieve $150 million in revenue as a company. So as for the projects that we started with, I mentioned New York, Phoenix, and then Las Vegas. For New York City, this is an interesting project. We are piloting this actually in New York in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. And as I mentioned, there are multiple steps involved with building decarbonization, which include introducing energy management strategies, which include renewable strategies, both on and off site, which include tenant behavior and tenant behavior change management strategies, all studied and then correlated together to achieve optimum results. So in this digital twin project, the energy management platform is being used as BuildE. The City University of New York is providing the solar district area analysis tool to help us understand the solar potential of the projects in the Navy Yard. There's 55 buildings in the Navy Yard, and we're focusing on one first, which is building 77. And we'll start there and move forward. In Phoenix, as I briefly alluded to earlier, we have the project has actually been kind of hosted and organized by Amazon's very prestigious Smart City division, who we are very close to. We don't think it's impossible at some point that Amazon could even invest or even acquire. This is not impossible. That's how close the relationship is. And this project is wonderful. We're looking at leveraging the digital twin to, again, of course, help individual building owners decarbonize. The first of those building owners, I believe, Midwest Bank in Phoenix, we've begun conversations with, thanks again to the Downtown Phoenix Partnership. And in every city, we're collaborating with local universities who are also contributing talent to the projects, in this case, ASU. And of course, then we have Las Vegas. Las Vegas was more recently announced. There we are doing a similar thing, but we've got this additional situation where we have, I think it's 7 square kilometers of IoT data, because Vegas was very early in the 5G game, and then they commissioned this massive IoT project. A company called Turbine has deployed sensors around this whole area, measuring everything from air quality to pedestrian traffic, vehicular traffic, noise levels. It is incredible. It's like your city on an EKG. I've never seen anything like it before, and I'm going to give you a glimpse of that in a second, ladies and gentlemen. So I mentioned, some of the goals that we have as in these pilots, and really it's about visualizing, building and infrastructure-related data and demonstrating how we can improve performance reporting. There's a few things we're looking at specifically, which would be operational, financial, and productivity savings in specific properties which we're going to measure that participate in this. Effectively, a building owner contributes their data. We run an analysis when we leveraging the digital twin to make suggestions to the owner as to the content of the retrofit from procurement to implementation, and then discuss the financial implications of different choices. And these are the things that we're going to be studying. I mean, owners have a tremendous benefit to gain if they participate in this, and it's been very easy to find partners. So we collect all the data, we build and prototype the twin, we demonstrate all the capabilities, we offer training, we suggest commercialization models with the different partners. The partners help us contain letters of commitment, and they become basically the channel through to the local building owner. So in each case, the reason for working with the Green Building Authority is to create a channel true to the hundreds of building owners who have built or are interested in building green buildings in that jurisdiction. So the vision that we have is to continue to, by next year, to have rolled this out in 10 cities and have got our first 50 buildings rolling with this initiative. And then as we move from there, we just scale aggressively. 100 cities by 2024 end and 1,000 buildings, and 300 cities and 10,000 buildings by 2026. And if we manage to do that, we would be doubling just ourselves the number of green buildings, net zero buildings that exist in the world today. So I have a few other things to share with you, a couple of videos. We're going to start with a quick look at the ad that I mentioned we ran around the Clean Cities, Clean Future campaign. Just 30 seconds, but it was fun. This is how we began sort of bringing the world's attention to what we were doing. Please enjoy.
In just a few decades, 68% of us will be living in cities. But did you know that cities account for 3/4 of all global CO2 emissions, and population growth and poor planning is making the problem worse? With our transformational AI software platform, we pledge to try and make the world's most polluted cities more sustainable, clean, and efficient, because we want to build a better future for our children. and we want you to join us.
Thank you for that. And then I have something, I guess the final thing that I want to share before we talk a little bit more among ourselves is the video that we just produced for Las Vegas. We're only about 30% through with this video. And it's due and will be presented at CES in Las Vegas in early January, January 5th, to a couple 100,000 people. But it's the Las Vegas digital twin. So I debated whether or not to show it to you, but I looked at the cut this morning that came in from the UK. We're having this developed, and I was very pleased with it. And I think those of you who have been following our progress over the years, you really need to see how far along this product has come and why we are beating out all these other companies for major digital twin contracts and why people are talking to us. You need to see this. So 1 second.
%39% of global carbon emissions come from the buildings in our cities. Less than 2% of America's 6 million office buildings are green. But what if we could help buildings, infrastructure and cities reach net zero faster, without risk and at a fraction of the cost? At Cityzenith, that's what we do. Our Smart World platform leverages cutting-edge AI to automate the complex decarbonisation process. Powerful visualization tools help clients analyze and predict performance in real time, simplifying financial and operational decision making. Thanks to our partnership with the City of Las Vegas and leading IoT provider Turbine, our Las Vegas digital twin features an unprecedented level of real-time sustainability data. Outside buildings, sensors monitor complex metrics, feeding data continuously into Smart World, including information about traffic density and air quality, helping planners, developers and city officials make Las Vegas a more efficient, sustainable and enjoyable city. Inside buildings, Smart World OS allows users to optimize their operational and energy systems, ensuring occupants enjoy a high-quality environment. Cityzenith's new Smart World OS Net Zero module continuously monitors clients' energy consumption, tenant behavior, and renewables performance, making it simple to purchase high-quality, verified carbon offsets to ensure properties maintain net zero compliance, providing the only true end-to-end net zero solution for building owners today. Cityzenith, we pledge to make the built environment a cleaner, safer, more efficient place for all. Join us.
Okay, there you go. Pleasure to share that. Joe and Josh, I'm going to ask you to come back. We're neatly at 30 minutes in, and there's lots of questions I know we're going to have to answer shortly. And so we're going to go through that in some type of order. Before we do that, I know everyone's heard from me for a long time, and it's been a pleasure to share the story of the company. And as we grow, many of you know that it wasn't long ago that we had really no customers, and we're trying to figure things out and all that. And to see this type of progress, I mean, I can't even believe that we're part of the World Economic Forum, that I created a company that is part of the WEF. Is just got to pinch yourself sometimes. But we have some really big things in front of us happening, and I wanted to introduce the board, Joe and Josh, to also talk about their perspective. I've known Joe now for almost a decade. He was previously head of Smart Cities EMEA for Microsoft and has held several senior research positions. One of the most respected Smart Cities thinkers, publishers, writers, and public speakers in the world. And he and I have known each other for years. He was one of our earliest backers in a long time ago. And so about 5 years ago, I asked him to join the board. And Joe, thank you for joining us.
Not at all. Thanks everybody for actually listening to this. I think I've spent 30 years in academia, government, cities, major technology vendors, and as a business analyst, the Far and Middle East. And I've never experienced a more exciting time to be in this space. There's an old saying that goes, there are decades where nothing happens and there are weeks where decades happen. I think the actual pandemic really caused a huge sort of system shock. My expertise is primarily public sector and governments and cities, and it caused an enormous shock into those areas. The public sector, I know, is betting the farm on optimizing their use of data and the ability to, in the process of changing data into information that allows insight to drive impacts. What that means in technical terms is we are developing IoT platforms and it's creating a lot of data, but we know data is just basically bits and bytes. It's not information. So we need to turn that data into information, and we need to actually make that visualize that. And this is where are coming in so strongly by allowing predictive analysis, scenario planning, but also matching up to the outcomes that the public sector and national governments are looking for. And the governments are also taking the lead in sustainability, the environment, and carbon. Most of what Michael's been talking about is the US. I'm based in London. We recently had the COP26. There's 1,000 cities that are actually declared that they want to go carbon neutral by 2030. So it's a global phenomenon. It's not a US phenomenon. It is genuinely a global phenomenon. But uniquely, seriously, in my time sort of selling into government, I've never seen so much investment money being made available. It's as if people have realized, okay, we need to do this now. And so you've actually got, in Europe, we've got the next generation EU funding. So there's 780 billion euros being pumped into the system currently. And for the first time, it's really weird because they've actually mandated that 37% of that funding must be spent on climate-related activity, and 20% of that funding must be spent on digital transformation, of which things like digital twins are smack in the sweet spot of this type of activity. And in addition to the 780 billion euros coming from the IFI, the EU itself, there's also 100 billion going in from France, Spain, Italy, Germany, of their own monies. And absolutely critically, because we all know public sector is sort of glacial in terms of its procurement and how it actually spends the money. This is fast spend money. This has actually got to be spent by 26. The actual country plans have been agreed. They're ready to go. They're starting rolling out. They've even started pumping money already into countries such as Portugal, which got 2.2 billion. So we have this perfect storm currently, where change in the public sector. We had the system shock driven by the pandemic. We've got a burning platform that people are recognizing around climate change, and all of a sudden we got a large injection of investment. So this is the perfect time for companies such as Cityzenith, who have taken 10 years to get to this point, I must say, to actually be there and ready. So it's time and tide, ladies and gentlemen. It's the right time, it's the right tide, we've got the right product and the right space. So that was all I wanted to say, Michael.
Well, thank you, Joe. I mean, no one knows better than you because you write about this subject all over the world. And if you get a chance to read any of Joe's writings, please do, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Dignan, and he's worked for some of the best and continues to, and continues to be one of the most insightful names of the industry. Josh is a little different. Josh is actually a supreme investor. He is probably the best investor you can have as an entrepreneur. He has funded some wildly successful companies, and his brilliance is that he gets in before anybody realizes what's going on. He did that for a data center company in China, which is probably 60x right now. He's got this timber company in Africa, which who even knows where that's going to go in the carbon offset space. Massively grown his investment and then he invested in us. And I think he has similar expectation that it's going to hit the moon. So, Josh, it's welcome, and thank you for being, such a wonderful supporter of ours, and also for being on our board.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, it's a real privilege to be here. I've just been keeping an eye on some of the comments there as well, and I know that we're getting a lot of comments about a lot of proud investors there, and that's what I'm seeing, and that's how I feel as a very proud investor. But please forgive me, I am a medical doctor by profession, and you can see the scrubs here. I'm joining you from my on-call room, so I do apologize about that. But yeah, I just feel very proud to be, a part of Cityzenith and a part of this journey. And, I do think this is a very, exciting time. I think over the last 7 years, there's been a few pivots, but the Clean Cities, Clean Future, projects are really something. And I think that the video there, I think people can see, what we just saw with the pilot in Las Vegas. What a visually stunning platform, Smart World really is. And it was one of the things that really impressed me from the outset, but I can't say enough how that has evolved, and my hats off to the company, Michael, for getting it to this level, because compared to when the first iterations of it, it's now something beyond that, but a really truly visually stunning platform that I think is going to be user friendly as well. And I think that's a critical thing here. You mentioned all those, one of the slides we saw earlier, we had this picture of the very frustrated individual with all the different technology, different platform. You need to have this for this and this for this and so forth. But I think what Smart World Pro is offering is this all-in-one platform, and you can intuitively look and find using the sort of digital twinning, business building information modeling to find all those different data sets, and with the analysis in there as well, really something. So I'm very excited. I think this is certainly a very exciting time. I think Michael, you've always managed to stay a step ahead, right on the cutting edge in this area. And Joe alluded to his experience, and he sees a lot of what everybody else is up to, but with Cityzenith, Michael's been able to stay really on the cutting edge with this technology. I think that we maintain the first mover advantage. I think there's certainly a 3 to 4 year market lead there. And I love the fact that we're getting significant market traction with the cities now, with the Clean Cities, Clean Future initiative. I think with the drive to carbon neutrality, certainly Joe also alluded to the COP26, and climate change is the topic on everybody's mind, and the fact that that we are part of something that can help. It really makes me feel very proud, actually, I have to say. I'm also from an investment point of view, I love the fact that we have a globally scalable software as a service product that can be distributed amongst multiple commercial enterprise sectors, and certainly I know in other investments that the software as a service models achieve some of the highest returns for investors, and so that's very exciting, from an investment perspective. Also what's exciting to me is that you alluded to the project for the Amazon HQ2 campus. I think that really helps to cement, our position. I mean, Cityzenith has been gaining a lot of a lot of, positive coverage in the press, and people are seeing, the efforts and strides that have been made with the company. And for Amazon to now be, keen for the company to do, the building information modeling for the HQ2 campus, I think is really a testimony to how far we've come. Really, I do. So, as I say, I'm really excited. I think that we are in an incredible position right now, and the company has an incredible future ahead. So, Michael, I just want to thank you and the team for really for steering the product and developing it and really creating something wonderful. So over to you again. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Joe.
No, thank you, Josh, for being just such a tremendous board member and supporter and an astute investor, I must say. And your success is not at all a surprise to me, having worked with you for several years. And you're also the most modest investor I've ever met in my life. I mean, just seriously, a model for me to look up to as I grow in my own career. And we have so many questions coming in from people. I'm going to go through them all as they came in chronologically. First of all, wow, I'm so happy to see so many people from all over the world. It's just fabulous, heartwarming. And many of you are existing investors, and many of you are investors to be. Wonderful to have you all here. The first comes from Paul. Michael, congratulations on your award from the Excellence Awards for being one of the top 40 CEOs in the United States, 2021. Hey, thank you very much. Yeah, that just happened about a week ago. Total surprise. Just to be honored like that as a business, just a huge thing, especially given the company. And I was really humbled. So thanks for mentioning that, Paul. I appreciate it. Another question came in from Steve saying, tell us what's happening with this opportunity you mentioned. So we are facing, an opportunity to have a significant strategic investment / event happen in the next 2 months. And I really can't say too much beyond that, other than this, it is such a tremendous deal that if it goes through, Cityzenith will do this everywhere, all over the world, with nothing to stop us. The investors are not some VC firm. They have unlimited access to capital. Unlimited. I think their first fund had something like 500 billion. They have unlimited access to capital. They're in the carbon offset business, and they have millions and millions of forests all over the world that they manage, many of which they own, and they're acquiring them hundreds of thousands at a time. Soon will be the world's largest forest owner and manager. And as you know, forests sequester carbon. So now they can convert all these into huge carbon offset opportunities. And who are we? Cityzenith creates all the carbon demand, because the building owners need to buy those offsets. So we are the world's largest carbon offset demand creator, and they are the world's largest carbon offset supplier. So if this deal goes through, it'll be, I'm going to use the term of a millennial, it'll be epic. Epic. So you're probably going to have less than 30 to 60 days left, and it could be 30 days to invest in the company, because the moment that they bring that through, as I said, they have unlimited capital. And they will, that day, there'll be no like, oh, countdown. No, they'll be that day, they'll be shutting off the regulation A+, because the kind of money that they're bringing in is staggering. Staggering. So I've never been more excited in my life. I've never seen something like this. I can only tell people that just bear in mind that it's not done. So bear in mind it's not done. Okay, so other questions. There's a webinar. Will there be a transcript be available? Yes, everybody here will receive a copy of this webinar that you can review at your convenience. Okay, going through a few more. Several questions about going public. Well, there is a stated goal to either go public or get sold within 3 to 5 years. That's the stated goal. Most likely that will happen sooner. Secondly, somebody was asking us about 5 or 6 questions in here about when can I realize my investment. Next year, irrespective of whether we do this deal or we don't, if we don't do this deal, I should say, we will be listing our company on an alternative trading system service that will allow existing investors to sell their shares. So if we go from $1.50, which we are today, to $3 a share, you would be able to sell your shares at that time, potentially as early as next year. So there are different opportunities for you to realize your investment, and all very good, unusual for a startup to be able to provide that type of liquidity to shareholders with such convenience and so many different options for liquidity. Question from Peter Chun, who is the chairman of the World Smart Cities Forum in Korea, saying World Smart Cities Forum will support Cityzenith. Thank you, Peter. You're a wonderful champion. Peter put us in front of countless mayors and governors. He's an unbelievable resource for us as we continue to grow. A question from Craig Ellsworth. Are quarterly statements available for the company? If you're a shareholder, yes, not quarterly, but they are semesterly, Craig. So if you are a shareholder, you'll get, you'll be getting, that's too low for me. You'll be getting a semesterly report, one unaudited and one audited every year. So that's 2. Question from Gianluca Galetto. Gianluca is a senior technologist at the New York City Housing Authority and a smart city specialist. He wants to talk about behavior changes. There's interest here. Behavior change, Gianluca, is managed by an application that does that, which is mobile and Wi-Fi based, which we can talk about separately. It's one of several tools that you need to monitor what's happening inside a building, what the energy systems are doing, what the renewable systems are doing, and what the people are doing. Keep scrolling through here. There's a lot of questions. And by the way, keep the questions coming. We will try to answer all we can. Another question about going public when, which we answered. Another question about realizing an investment, which we answered. Radcliffe Samuel, this is a forward-thinking company. With this company's help, we will have a greener future. Proud investor right here. Thank you very much, Radcliffe. That's very kind of you. Question from Kim San Lee. Greetings. Would you please consider setting up a team to look into applying your digital twin technology into the metaverse, please? I believe the build out of the metaverse and the need for accurate twinning of the real world to virtual world would add significant and alternative revenue streams to Cityzenith. Yes, I think that's a great thought. Actually, before people started calling all this stuff metaverse, right? I think that's because Facebook changed their name because they're sick of all the bad press, so they decided to call themselves Meta. And then they're also trying now to kind of position away from the kind of digital feed-based product to something which is spatial. And so let's talk about metaverse, and a lot of folks are talking about it. Actually, we've been doing this for 10 years, you know. So what we're creating is a real-world metaverse for professionals to improve the real world. So you can design scenario-wise, edit, and then redo virtually before you actually build anything out. So it's a very wise observation, actually, of yours. And as we grow, I think if we're successful, you saw 100 cities there, we will have the most advanced metaverse in the world, because we'll have not just the Google Earth buildings, but we'll have all the data from the source providers, because we have developed a product which allows us to integrate all of that data, which none of the other tools can do. So there are many, many downstream applications for monetizing data, and in such an environment, it's a very good question. What's the valuation of the company? Today, it's about $37.5 million. That was from Tom. Question from Tara. Does President Biden's climate change agenda help Cityzenith in any way? Yes, yes, it does, because he has prioritized green buildings. So, hello, we're in the green building space. Should be amazing for us, you know. What happened more than that, Tara, an excellent question. It's not just his agenda, but the other thing that happened in America, which is really helping us, is, you know, we had no cities in this country that have mandated building owners to reduce or eliminate emissions ever. Europe, Asia have had this for a while. Canada, 2008. Not in America. Until this year. Now there are 5 cities in America. Boston, most recent, Washington, D.C., St. Louis, New York City, all places we're working. Los Angeles is next. Chicago's coming soon. Ithaca, if you guys know, where Cornell is based, became the first American city to announce they were going fully net zero. Who'd they call 36 hours later? Cityzenith. So fabulous opportunity for us to position ourselves as basically the Google of this space, if you want to call it that. Okay, keep going here. Thank you, Francisco, on the award. I really appreciate it. A question from Dion Williams: is the U.S. military looking into this? Yes, yes, Dion. We have working for the U.S. Army was one of our clients. We did a 1-year pilot with the Army, which was a big success, and now we're discussing future engagements with them. It was actually our first ever with the U.S. Military. And if this plan to go decarbonize all of America's federal organizations by 2030 goes through, which I believe it has, then the GSA is our next target because they have 350 million square feet of real estate. A question from Everton: what is the best way for an existing investor to invest more in the company? Thanks, Everton. Just go straight to the website. There's an invest button in the upper right corner. Just click on invest and just follow the prompts. There's 4 steps. It's information that you have to enter in order to complete your investment. If you have any problems, just reach out to investors@cityzenith.com. Oh, I forgot to mention Gianluca's an investor. Shame on me. Gianluca is also an investor of ours from the City of New York Housing Authority. I'm so sorry, Gianluca. He is a big champion. I should have said that. Big champion. Okay. I've another question about the valuation, which I just answered. It's 37.5 million. A question from, or comment from Peter Chun in I believe he might be in London. He's between London and Seoul. I'm planning to build up a digital twin and metaverse pilot program in London and Ukraine. Let's talk about it soon. You bet, Peter, anytime. Peter's always, I'm lucky that I know all the people who know people. I tell people I don't know anybody myself, but I know everybody who knows other people. So Peter's one of them. Do you have a reseller program? Question from Jennifer Dooling. Do you have a reseller program? And if so, how can we sign up and participate in this exciting opportunity to drive Cityzenith's race to zero profit mission and growth plans? Please write to us directly. Actually, for the partners, his name is Jason Thomas, j.thomas@cityzenith.com. Just send Jason a note, and Jennifer, he'll be in touch with you to take that forward. Thank you for that. We'd be happy to speak with you. If you're a question from Arthur, if you're a small investor, is there a cap on your investment or earning? No. No. You earn as much as everybody else if you have 10 shares or 10 million shares. It's the same. A question from Henry Schuler. Would love to get Cityzenith involved in Lakeside, Colorado. We are a tiny city, but want to do our part. Well, we would love to talk to you, Henry, about Lakeside, Colorado. You know, Colorado is one of the most forward-thinking states in the union when it comes to climate change. It's where the Rocky Mountain Institute is based. You know, Boulder is famously a sustainability heaven. We'd love to talk to you, Henry, and thank you for suggesting that. Question from Clement. What is Cityzenith's business financial projection in the next 5 years? As I mentioned earlier, we have a goal to achieve 150 million in revenue over the next 3 years, 5 years rather, from a combination of 3 sources: the large-scale digital twin projects, the partnerships with large-scale companies like Amazon, Capgemini, and others who distribute us, and then the Clean Cities, Clean Future platform rollout initiative to building owners around the country and around the world. A question from John Freeman. Will building contractors be able to use this to support their green building efforts? Yes, they will. Contracts are also users. And John, if you are a contractor, let's be in touch, and we'll see if we can get you involved potentially in one of these pilots. If we have one in your area, or you have a project where we have a pilot, we'd love to talk. Question from Umar Ansari. How is the project in Jeddah coming along? Really nice. He's referring to the Jeddah Lamana Tower project. We've completed the first digital twin model, and we'll probably be showing that in the second quarter of next year. It's going well. Everything we expected. In fact, we're going to be bringing Amazon into that project as well. So it's something that we're going to be very proud to show soon. Comment from Gian. Awesome. Out of all of my investments that I've made as a new investor for the last couple of years, this is one of two that I'm the most excited about, being a Chicago native. Keep up the amazing work changing the world. Well, thank you, Dion. We are doing our best. Wanted to say something else. We took part, we're trying to, we will get Chicago in, I guarantee you. We're getting close. It's 2 campuses in Chicago, Dion, that are interested, IIT and UIC. We're getting close to getting them on board. We also got involved in the We Will program that Mayor Lightfoot launched to make Smart World available for the, not sustainable, but the inclusive redevelopment of Chicago. So we think about all kinds of things. And so we actually were selected for that program by the mayor's team in Chicago, something we're very honored to be proud of. So you bet, Chicago's a great city, and I think it can be greater. So we're going to do our best to help wherever we can. Okay, question from Robert. You mentioned that shares can be purchased. How does that relate to people that have invested by crowdfunding apps such as Republic? You can invest directly. The company has had different rounds, as they're called. So there was a round that we did with Republic a couple of years ago. The one with Start Engine, as many as you will remember, and these last 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. The A Plus is now gone much longer because this is a 3-year window, or a year and a half into this roughly. So the A Plus is the best place to invest for all of you. Don't invest in WeFunder. Republic, I'll tell you why. The Regulation CF shares are more restrictive than Regulation A Plus shares. The WeFunder round we're going to be closing for sure on January 31st. They did a great job for us. Super happy with them. And if you invested there, you did fabulously, especially if you came in on the Friends Family Invest First deal. But please invest directly in the Regulation A Plus. Go to cityzenith.com and click on the Invest button there, and that's what we would prefer. Question about the Orlando project: is it still going? No, it's completed. So that's now kind of in the archives, Greg. But we've kind of moved on to newer, bigger things, but it was definitely completed, and it was a big success. Question about the reports. The reports actually get loaded to your accounts. So by now, all of you should have your VStock accounts. I know many of you had issues not seeing some of your shares in your accounts, etc. We sent out an email with the contact information for VStock. So the protocol is for you to write to them and get that clarified, because we have 6,000 plus investors. We had maybe less than 0.5% that had some issues. But if you have an issue, please get it resolved. Don't let it sit out there. If you didn't see something that looked right, write to VStock and we will get it resolved for you. Make sure it gets sorted out. A couple more, we're just on the hour. Okay, from James Connor, will the crowdfunding investments made on Republic and WeFunder be included at some point in the VStock transfer? Yes, VStock just agreed to also host our crowdfunding investments, James, so stay tuned. Secondly, WeFunder won't close until it closes. So once it closes, then you will get your shares in WeFunder, etc., which actually you own through them in a vehicle issued to you. Final question. Hey, Mike, my wife and I are proud investors too. We have you been able to speak to any cities in Minnesota, especially Minneapolis? Yeah, we should. We really should. We really should speak to Minneapolis, Frederick. And as a Midwesterner, I'd love to do that. I just think we haven't done it yet. And, you know, the world's just a big place. So we'd love to talk with you about it and see, but certainly, we'd love to work in Minneapolis. We think it'd be fantastic. Okay, I think that's everything. Yes. So, last question from Cyrus Johnson. What's the price per share? It's $1.50 per share right now, Cyrus. Go to the Cityzenith.com website. You'll see all of the information about the deal, all the terms, details of the business, the customers, profiles of all of the individuals, and then you can read the very detailed memorandums, like 70 pages long, full history on the business, all of that, which some people even do. I think, though, that the offering page is really the best resource for understanding the business. And listen, we're up on time. I wanted to thank everybody for being a part of this. We had a huge turnout. It was incredible. Pleasure sharing all this wonderful news. Thank you for the encouragement we received from everybody. Thank you to Joe and Josh for attending. You know, I know a lot of you are planning to invest now. You know, if you have any issues, just let us know. As I said, this is probably going to be the last time, looks like. And so we've always appreciated your support. And, you know, you really have helped us to get to from where we were to where we are. You know, and especially I want to say to my investors, you know, a lot of investors are kind of what I call spreadsheet investors. I mean, when you build a platform that you really want to propagate the use of around the world, you have to invest in the platform and invest in scaling that so it becomes a wonderful thing. And you guys made that happen. You have made that happen in front of my competitors, so I could do a better job than anybody else. And that's why this big deal is coming to us. You know, because of you guys, you helped us get here. So all I can do is express my gratitude on behalf of the board, the team, and everybody else. And I take having your investment in my hands as an honor and a great duty. And I cannot wait to hopefully share some terrific news with everybody in a few months. Thanks again for attending. And again, there'll be a recording of this sent to everybody. God bless and have a great rest of your weeks.